Like, this is real archival footage if someone wanted to make a period piece of 2011 in middle school.
Hello and welcome to School Lunch Program, a show where we talk about what was for lunch, what is for lunch, and what will be for lunch. My name is Andrew, and I'm here with my friend Matthew. Matt.
Hello.
I'm like, should I call you Matt or should I call you Matthew?
It makes no difference to me. I get this a lot, and people are like, oh, should I call you Matt or Matthew? And I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Today on the program, Isa Quiros shares her school lunch memories in Florida. Isa, you are here with us now. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
This is so exciting for me. I feel like I'm meeting like one of my real life like Tumblr mutuals from 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get into a bunch of memories you have of school lunch. You brought some photos, which I'm really excited about. But first, let's hear the lunch menu for Pines Collegiate Academy in Pembroke Pines, Florida, where Isa, you went to school. Matt, can you share what the school lunch is for one of these weeks in May?
Sure. On May 27th, first, a few notes about the menu format. So they got a bunch of entree selections, and then there's a grains, vegetable, and fruit side. And then there's also a milk option, and the only option for every day is milk.
I remember there was always a milk option, and I'm anti-milk, so.
But, well, they don't list like different milks. It just says milk, milk, milk. Monday, for entrees, they have macaroni and cheese, baked corn dog, Latin style black beans with brown rice, cheeseburger on a bun, salad with chicken tenders, pepperoni pizza, fish patty on a bun, pizza, cheese, deep dish, breaded spicy chicken fillet on a bun. And the grain options are cornbread poppers or brown rice. The vegetable options are triple berry blast veggie edge, sweet potato crinkle cut fries, fresh mini sweet peppers, sweet potato wedges, and the fruit options are chilled mint mixed fruit and variety fresh fruit. On Tuesday, the entree options are pepperoni pizza, salad, Caesar, Latin style black beans with brown rice, baked corn dog, breaded chicken fillet on a bun, vegan chicken nuggets with crackers, and the grain option is brown rice. The vegetable options are steamed broccoli, sweet potato crinkle cut fries, and potato wedges. The fruit options are chilled peaches and a variety of fresh fruit. On Wednesday, the entree options are pepperoni pizza, salad, Caesar, beefaroni, breaded spicy chicken fillet on a bun, breaded chicken fillet on a bun, vegan chicken nuggets with crackers. The grain options are savory herb crackers and Texas garlic toast. The vegetable options are fresh sliced cucumbers, potato wedges, and mixed vegetables. The fruit options are variety fresh fruit, mixed fruit cup, or chilled peaches. On Thursday, the entree options are Italian meatball sub, chicken and cheese enchilada empanada, salad, vegan with buffalo fava crisp, salad, chicken tenders, pepperoni pizza, beefaroni, or hummus with savory herb crackers. The grain options are savory herb crackers and Texas garlic toast. The vegetable options are marinara sauce cup, fresh sliced cucumbers, mixed vegetables, sweet potato crinkle cut fries, and the fruit options are variety fresh fruit or chilled mixed fruit. On Friday, the entree options are pull apart cheesy beef pepperoni breadsticks, fish patty on a bun, hummus with savory herb crackers, salad, chicken tenders, breaded spicy chicken fillet on a bun, and cheese pizza. The vegetable options are farm fresh corn cobettes and baked beans, and the fruits are mixed fruit cup and variety juice. And then again, the milk option is milk.
Isa, how familiar does this look to you?
Not at all, actually. I think they're living in a completely different reality than the middle school that I went to, because I'm fairly certain we had like Michelle Obama's vegetable pizza every single day for lunch, and the pictures that I sent you definitely prove that.
Oh, Michelle Obama's vegetable pizza. Oh, we're gonna have to get into that. Beefaroni is an interesting one. It's not just like a branded food.
Maybe they're buying that brand.
The vegan one was interesting too. I'm shocked that they're feeding the masses vegan anything right now.
Yeah, chicken nuggets.
And then there's also condiments listed.
Oh, really? Wow, there is.
Yeah, if you expand underneath that, ES Daily condiment choices for lunch.
Taco sauce packets, ranch dressing, ketchup, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce. Wow, okay. Interesting.
Could you imagine being like 11 years old and being like, I'll take the meatball sub and also the taco sauce ranch packet?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Me and my friend used to have take some of the saltine crackers and then get like Caesar dressing and just dip the crackers in dressing as like a snack.
That's crazy. The things that you eat in middle school are definitely like so insane. Like I remember making snacks of like tortillas with just cinnamon on it and being like, this is so good. Like you guys don't understand. And like in hindsight, I'm like, that was weird.
That is when you're experimenting with lunch. But let's go to some of these photos you brought. You have one photo here for preschool, and it's a note from your teacher. What does it say here?
It says she really wanted cheese for lunch. And then she wrote something about a song and a poem that we read, even though at this point we must have been 3 years old. So I know we weren't reading it. We were probably just sitting there learning about it. And then our unit this week is apparently about mammals.
I like that. Yeah, that was just a note that happened that day that you really wanted cheese for lunch.
Yes. So when I told my mom that I was going to be talking about lunch, she was like, well, this is a situation that goes way far back before you probably even remember. And then she went deep into her archives, which consisted of, I'm not even kidding, 500 pieces of paper exactly like this for every single day that I was in preschool. I'm not sure why she kept all of this. I don't know why she thinks that one day I will want this, but today I did want it. So maybe she's onto something. She's right.
Wow.
And she said it was always a recurring issue that I didn't like the lunch that she packed me, and that the teacher always left a note that was like, she didn't want da 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 da, she wanted da 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 da.
Oh, wow. Do you remember much from preschool? Do you remember even having lunch?
I remember kindergarten. I don't know that I remember anything before that, but I do remember that seeing a note one time, like years ago, from preschool kindergarten era, and we couldn't find it, unfortunately. We couldn't track it down, but it was something along the lines of like, Isabella really wanted pizza like everyone else in the class on pizza day. She did not want the rice and beans that you handmade and packed in a beautiful Tupperware and sent to school with her. And I do remember always being like, why can't I eat like the cool school lunch that all the cool kids are eating? Why do I have to eat the homemade food of my family?
We've heard this before.
What's interesting about this note for me is that when I was really, really young, I called something that wasn't cheese. So there's no way of really knowing if I actually wanted cheese or if I was asking for something else, which is hearts of palm. Have you ever eaten that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes in a can and it looks like string cheese. And my parents told me like it was string cheese because that's how they got me to eat it. So there's no way. I probably was asking for a piece of hearts of palm. And my teacher's like, this girl wants a string cheese stat.
Wow. Matt, we actually hadn't gotten into preschool before, pre-kindergarten. Do you?
Yeah, I was actually thinking to myself, like, what are my preschool memories? And I don't remember eating in preschool at all. Although I do remember like being in preschool.
Yeah.
Like I remember the layout of the classroom and like cleaning up toys daily.
I remember.
Were you a janitor at your preschool?
No, like, you know how the kids sing that song? It's like, clean up, everybody, everywhere. I remember all of the children picking up large blocks.
I remember ants on a log. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's a good preschool snack.
Yeah, celery and peanut butter and raisins. Yeah, that was when I first had that for sure. So you brought a bunch of photos from middle school and high school as well, but no photos from elementary school. Do you have much memories there?
I remember elementary school. I do. I don't know why there's no photos of me there. There must be some, and I just probably didn't have an iPhone, so I couldn't take them myself. I do remember the time the first person in my elementary school got an iPhone, and all the parents were like, she's way too young to have access to the world's first supercomputer in the pocket.
Oh my gosh.
But that was way in fourth grade. So at that point, are you even eating lunch or are you just running around on the playground? Who knows? The big concern at the time was like, what are you going to take photos of? And I guess school lunch is the answer. When you're in fourth grade, what else is there to take a photo of? She was the only girl in the class who had a camera. It was so crazy.
Okay, yeah, I'm interested in looking at what you took with your phone in middle school. But in elementary school, did you? What do you remember there? Were you a hot lunch or cold lunch person in elementary school?
So I remember our elementary school. I feel like. And you can fact check me on this because I'm sure I'm wrong. I think the building that my elementary school was in like a repurposed office of sorts because we did not have a cafeteria. We didn't have a place where food was prepared or a place that we went to for food. It just was like delivered in like takeaway boxes. And there was only a set amount for the kids that paid for it in advance and maybe like one extra in case someone like forgot lunch. And it wasn't like fresh. It was always like a wrapped sandwich of sorts. It wasn't like anything groundbreaking by any means. So my mom always packed my lunch, like every single day against my will, packed my lunch like the loving mother that she is.
Do you remember what your mom would pack for you?
Yeah, so I went to a Hebrew day school, which was the first time that I'd ever like gone to like a more religious school, even though my family wasn't necessarily religious. It was just like a good school like in my neighborhood, so they sent me there. And I want to believe that they just didn't read like the rule book about what you need to pack your lunch at a particularly religious school, because at some point very early on in the school year, first grade, they sent me to school with a Lunchables because they were lazy and they just threw something in my lunchbox. And I have a very distinct memory of like my teacher escorting me out of the classroom and sitting me down in the hallway at 6 years old and being like, you can eat your lunch out here because you're not allowed to be with everyone else when you eat that. And I like sat in the hallway and like cried and ate my like
It was
pepperoni.
because the Lunchables was like meat and cheese.
Yeah, it was not kosher. I doubt it
But
was
also
like
the meat is probably pork.
Yeah, there's probably like some sort of pork contamination in it. I don't even really eat like hot dogs, so I doubt it was like anything really meat. It was probably just made in like a meat facility, so it wasn't kosher.
Yeah.
But it was very much in the rule book. Like you cannot send your kid to school with Lunchables. And my parents didn't know, didn't care.
Oh my God, it was anti-Lunchables.
Yeah, they really took a stance on that. And then it was also like a huge conversation between my parents and the school. Like, why would you make a 6-year-old eat in the hallway by herself and cry? That's crazy work.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember it.
Yeah. So what else did you bring outside of the Lunchables once Lunchables were banned?
Once that was banned, my mom was really like, I have to cook real food for her and send her like with a hot meal of something. So it was a lot of rice and beans, which as we know from preschool, I never wanted the rice and beans, even though it was my favorite food and continues to be my favorite food. So a lot of that. I remember my mom was really into, I don't know, eating healthy, no sugar really. So like sent me with like fruit and like vegetables like broccoli, but no ranch.
Oh.
Really weird kind of stuff. And I remember always trying to trade it for like a pack of Oreos, and no one would ever trade with me. It was brutal.
Oh, wow. So you weren't a big vegetable eater growing up?
I don't think so. I mean, I must have been like cool with them, but I think I just like was always like, well, why does everyone else have like a bag of pretzels and I'm sitting here with like some whole wheat pasta? Like what did I do to deserve this? And no one ever wanted to trade. So I remember always being like, why can't I get the school lunch like everyone else? And I just didn't know.
Yeah, that is, I mean, like you probably were better off, really. I think, yeah, your mom did good there. Do you remember like any like system of like payment for the lunch?
For elementary school, it was definitely like prepaid, like your parents paid for it in advance.
I see.
And I think we used to have like dress down days where if you like donated like $1, you could wear whatever you wanted. And there were sometimes like pizza days where if you donated $1, you could get a slice of pizza. And my mom would not send me to school with $1 on those days. She was like, you'll bring your lunchbox.
What lunchbox did you bring? Do you remember what it looked like?
It's a good question. I don't remember elementary school. I remember in high school I had a like Disney Princess elementary school lunchbox, because that's the thing to do when you're like 17 is pretend that you're only like 3 years old.
Right.
Yeah, and I had 2 lunchboxes in high school. I had like a soft Disney Princess one that like fit in my backpack, and then I had like a metal one because I got really into like the 80s, and I was like, ooh, I want to look like I'm vintage. But both had Disney princesses on it.
Okay. Do you remember going to a recess after lunch at all?
Yes, I remember we had recess probably after lunch or PE after lunch. I remember it was always very sweaty, very sweaty, gross, that boys not knowing what deodorant is. And then there was always some sort of snack afterwards too. We could have a snack from our lunchbox.
Oh, so do you do like lunch, recess, then snack?
Probably something like that. Or maybe it was like snack, then lunch. And then I think the school might have given us a snack. Like I remember it was Hebrew school. So on Fridays we got challah, and that was our snack. And I loved it. I would eat like 10 pieces of it. I'd be like, give me more.
And this was in Florida, right? You grew up like throughout your whole school childhood is in Florida.
My whole schooling.
So for middle school, this is when you have a smartphone, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Or some sort of camera. So walk me through some photos here, and we'll get into what the lunch experience was like. This first.
Okay, so this was our cafeteria.
Okay, so it's you're holding a Capri Sun, and you got some animal crackers, right?
Yes, I'm eating and drinking two illegal substances in my household, which was sugar and sugar. I don't know how I must have procured these. I think I made friends who would trade with me, and they must have given it to me. So I remember for like, there was a couple weeks, maybe a couple months where I like ate animal crackers every single day. But I think just for the whimsy of being like, I'm eating animal crackers and not because I actually liked them, I think I just became known as like the animal cracker girl, maybe. Not sure.
Is your
And
brand.
I think this has to have been the last time I ever had a Capri Sun because I didn't grow up drinking them and have not drank in one since this picture, probably.
And then I see there's something on a plate here.
So that's the pizza. That's the vegetable pizza.
Okay.
So what's this red
Yeah, is that an apple?
lump in front of it, though?
It's some sort of pear. I remember we got pears a lot. We never really got like normal apples. It was always like the cheap fruit, which I guess was pears. And then I felt like every single day, the hot food was always pizza. And this was in like 2010, 2011, maybe, right when Michelle Obama had taken like that food initiative, where she somehow changed the rule to make tomatoes considered a vegetable, which then made pizza sauce considered a vegetable. So this was the Michelle Obama vegetable pizza.
We remember this, right, Matt?
Served public schools.
Yeah, I remember hearing that story, and I don't remember a lot of blame falling on Michelle Obama for that. I think it was more like, oh, this stupid court made a decision that's like a technicality.
Right.
And
I just attributed it to her.
Was there any vegetables on the pizza, or is it just
No.
It was just plain pizza? Yeah.
It was like the grossest piece of pizza you could ever imagine. And I felt like it was served every single day.
It is funny, like everyone I've talked to basically about this, about school lunch, they have loved the pizza. Did you hate the pizza in your
I hated
school?
it. Yeah, I was not eating it. As you can see, I was eating animal crackers for lunch. I didn't even touch that pizza. They were abnormally giant. I wish I had like a piece of paper that I could show you, but they were like this big and they were triangle slices.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like they cooked a giant sheet pan of pizza and then cut it into the worst shapes. And like when you're a kid, you're like, if it looks even slightly different from what I think it's going to look like, I'm not going to eat it.
It looks pretty thick too.
Yeah, it was very bready. I think I liked the pears. I think I would eat the fruit sometimes. But again, most days my parents were sending me with food. And I think it was just like when I was able to like find some cash in the couch cushions, did I like buy school lunch.
So yeah, you still were bringing lunch a lot in middle school.
Probably most of the days. I think probably more often than I remember, my dad was probably slipping me a couple dollars. I remember lunch was $2.25 and you did have to have exact change.
Oh.
And I remember also in the school line, like you would go pick up your food from the cafeteria and you'd go to the cashier. And it was like so embarrassing because some people like wouldn't have exact change, or some people would like stand in the line and get food and not have any money. And like they would just hold you up and like publicly accost you. It was just like weird. It's kind of like I didn't understand why you couldn't like prepay, or like why like kids like would get in line knowing they didn't have like lunch money. But I think that was more just an issue on like the public education system in my county at the time until they figured it out.
Yeah. Well, because in elementary school, I remember we had like lunch tickets. And you'd bring the ticket with you to lunch. So you didn't have to handle any money yet, I guess. But in middle school and high school, we did have like actual money we would handle. And I wonder if like part of it is just like teaching kids how to handle money.
That's a good point.
Exact change is strange too, like because they are gonna require you to have like 5 quarters at the beginning of the week. Like,
yeah, I guess that's every parent has to give you 5 quarters on a Monday and then hope that you don't buy a piece of gum at any point during the week.
Yeah.
Or just like have holy pockets.
I remember my parents putting like my lunch money in like a little Ziploc bag because of like the loose change you'd have. I'm having like flashbacks of like a tiny little plastic bag with I think it was $2.25 for us at some point, right, Matt?
I feel like $2.25 or $2.75 was like the price in high school, but I don't remember well enough.
So the school I went to was it was a huge middle school, like I don't know, maybe like 3,000 kids in it. It was huge. This was a brand new school. I might have been like the first or second group of kids that like got to eat in this brand new cafeteria. And there were so many kids, but I think a majority of the students were on like free or reduced lunch. So the 225 was like only applicable to like less than like 10% of the students. So it was also like an interesting situation, like for the first time as like a kid or like a young adult, like realizing that other people are in different backgrounds than you are. And I remember like I lived in a different neighborhood than this middle school, which is definitely illegal now that I'm admitting that on this very live thing that we're doing right now. But my parents put a fake address on there and put me in this middle school because they wanted me to go here. And so based on that, somehow I had to pay like the full like price of lunch, which was like 225 or something. And when other people found that out, they would like tease me for it. Like, oh, you pay for full lunch. Like that must mean blah, 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 blah. And I remember being like, what are you talking about? Like, that's so weird. What do you mean you're not paying for full lunch? So it was like one of those situations where kids got weird. Like when they found out, like if you were on free lunch and like the reduced lunch, kids would make fun of you if you were on free lunch, which is such an insane concept because we're talking about a difference of like 45 cents, truly.
It's also funny that like I would think that the making fun of it goes the opposite direction, but
yeah, because we've heard people on the show, there's a little bit of shaming and like having reduced lunch, but when the majority has reduced lunch, it's like, oh, look at the little snobby kids over there who pays full price for lunch. These social dynamics within the school lunch is fascinating. So kids were taking advantage of that and making fun of kids. Yeah.
Totally. And it's also, this was the only time during the school day where like 600 of us ate at like the same time. So it was so loud. I remember how loud that cafeteria was. It was buzzing. There were fights that broke out. They had no control over these kids. Like I remember fights. I remember like people trying to start food fights, but not successfully. Like security would like pull them out of the room.
Oh.
I remember if you had a test after lunch, you were so screwed. You were not going to be able to like look over your notes for even a split second, like because someone would make fun of you or it was too loud. You couldn't focus. Like people were spilling things everywhere. It was crazy in there.
It seems to be a challenge to this day to keep kids at a lower volume in the lunchroom.
They haven't figured it out yet, scientifically.
Okay, do you remember what you brought to lunch when you did bring lunch in middle school now?
I don't know. I must have brought like cold stuff because we didn't have like any place to store our lunch boxes. We had to carry it and I would walk home sometimes. So it must have been something lightweight, probably a little sandwich, a little piece of fruit, I'd imagine. I remember always getting these these animal crackers. Someone gave them to me every day. Probably a lover of sorts. I don't know.
Well, speaking of fruit, the next picture we have here is a pear that is just sitting on top of a toilet, I assume in the school.
Yes.
Can you explain that? There's also a face drawn onto the pear.
So in searching for any type of memories on my hard drive of middle school, I had to go through all of them, which was an experience I don't really recommend to anyone without a thick skin to look at your photos from middle school. But I found so many images of fruit that was Sharpied all over to be people. And all these photos were taken in different places, mostly the bathroom, because I think that's the only place we had even a second of privacy at this school. These memories came flooding back to me of like, oh yeah, we used to get fruit and then spend our entire lunch period like drawing on them and making these like weird characters with weird names. And then I guess we would all take pictures of it, which is just insane. But that's how you entertain yourself.
Looking through these photos, it reminds me of what I used to do, which I would take an apple and I would like bite little marks in the apple to make it, or like I would take a spoon. Now that I remember this, I would take a spoon and carve a little face into the apple, like a jack-o'-lantern. Matt, are you laughing because you remember this?
No, I'm laughing at both Isa's reaction to the pictures as I changed them and the pictures.
We weren't creative enough to like bite into the apple. Oh wait, no, we were. I don't even remember this, but I don't know why I was tasked with taking all the photos of these weird things.
Yeah, so you have one. I have a drawing of a little guy on a box of chocolate milk, a milk carton, and you have an apple. Yeah, you drew. I love you drew on them. You're supposed to eat them.
Well, yeah, and we weren't eating them, or maybe people were making fun of us for eating them. I don't know. But if you go back a few, there was one with red hair, And as soon as you
yeah.
like moved to it, I like immediately remembered that someone else drew that one. And I know someone else drew it because they drew boobs on it. So it must have been a boy. And this one was definitely like modeled after, I think, a girl who sat at a table somewhere near us that like had red hair. And I remember like I don't think you were allowed to have red hair. So we were talking about it. It was like the talk of the table, and that's
Oh,
where this
like
one came.
dyed red hair?
Yeah, it was like dyed hair.
These are taken by different cameras too. I'm looking at the metadata just to see what kind of camera you would have had when when these were taken.
It had to be iPhone generation 2, maybe.
And,
Actually, I don't even think I had an iPhone in middle school, so it wasn't. It must have been something
The
else.
pair in the toilet was taken with the Samsung SGH A797. So
I
I don't
love
know if that's a
now
dedicated
over
point and
video
shoot
people.
or its own camera.
That's amazing.
Maybe I didn't take any of these. I think the green nail polish is mine, so those must have been on my. I had like a, not like a sidekick, but like a phone that like went up and down.
But this one, the pair with the red hair that we're looking at, was taken with an iPhone 3G.
That was mine.
Okay, so why in the bathroom? Do you remember why you brought the fruit into the bathroom and took pictures of them?
I think the bathroom was like literally the only place we were allowed to go during lunch. It was like low key prison like you could not leave that cafeteria under any circumstances unless you went to the bathroom. So we must have just been sneaking away one by one to get a picture of our weird little people in different places.
Oh, I love these pictures because you can see in the background like the trays with the milk carton in there. So many apples to go around in this school.
No one was eating fruit, not at this time, not a single person.
Okay, the next photo here is a picture of a cup of water. Water was served in 4-ounce size containers is the caption here. So
Yes,
do you remember this?
I do. Okay, so we were talking about milk being on the menu. I remember as an avid like not milk drinker, I remember being like so disgusted that everyone was drinking cartons of milk. But the only other option besides the carton of milk that came with your lunch was like a cup of water. And I'm not kidding when I say it was in those
With
tiny
a
little
lid.
with a lid, and no one would grab them because it's only like 4 ounces of water. You have like 2 sips max of this water. And so I would get those sometimes, and then people would of course make fun of me, like just drink milk like a normal person. Like the milk you're drinking is disgusting. I'd rather have these 2 sips of water. But I saw this picture and I had not thought about it since probably like 7th or 8th grade. And I like was like, oh my God, remember when they gave us 4-ounce cups of water?
That is like little sauce containers of water.
Yeah. That's like a medium-sized branch that comes with your chicken wings.
Yeah, right.
Were you allowed to have a water bottle in school?
I don't know. I was thinking about that because this was pre like everyone having a water bottle. That's only like.
But I remember we had a 3rd grade teacher who encouraged us to have a water bottle in the classroom. And so like that's a solution to solving these little cups. It's just let kids fill their own water containers off of a fountain.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like how much water would I have drank during school hours? And I guess it's just like any time I'm in the hallway. In elementary school, like definitely not. There's no time that you're in the hallway. And then
I also hated using the bathroom in school.
Oh.
And I think I was probably severely dehydrated as a middle schooler, high schooler.
I think that's normal. I also had like a fear of the bathrooms in my middle school here where we would go take pictures because I think like one day I walked in there and there was like a girl like shaving her eyebrows like on the counter, and then the next day there were like no mirrors in any of our bathrooms anymore, and so I like never went to the bathroom again.
Oh my God, the girl who shaved her eyebrows ruined it for everyone.
She was like cutting like a shape into it or something, and I remember being so freaked out by it, and shortly thereafter they took all the mirrors away, so I don't know what happened.
They're like, that's it, no more mirrors.
In a brand new school too. They were like, you've lost the privilege. It's gone.
I mean, I remember back in the day, like it kind of when it was back when like in elementary school, kids like still pulled their pants all the way down to pee. So you'd risk the possibility of going into the bathroom and the urinal where the urinals are, and there'd just be like a kid with his bare ass just in the bathroom. Do you remember this, Matt? Did you have a kid that did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we got another picture here. You eating the pizza.
The disgusting pizza. That must have been the only time.
And it's in the hallway.
like this is real archival footage if someone wanted to make a period piece of 2011 in middle school. I'm wearing, we had, so at my middle school, we had a uniform where it had to be like a collared shirt of like 3 different colors, but like they didn't care what brand or anything like that. And so everyone who was cool, which wasn't me, but I was trying very hard, would wear Aeropostale, which was the brand of middle school. Right. So I'm wearing an Aeropostale long sleeve shirt, completely not allowed, underneath my Aeropostale, like 2 sizes too small polo shirt that is not in an approved color. It was supposed to be like a dark blue, and here I am wearing a light blue. And I'm also wearing a vest that I think I was gifted sometime in 3rd grade. And I must be in at least 7th grade now, so I shouldn't still be wearing that vest. And that vest still exists today, and my grandma, who is in her late 80s, wears it all the time.
No way.
Yeah, she got it as a hand-me-down, and every time she wears it, she thinks of me. And I'm like, girl, that is my vest from middle school and elementary school.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Any other memories you have from middle school and before we move on here?
I'm trying to remember. Middle school was such a scary time. Like the person I was, what a crazy person that was. Look at me, I'm crazy. I'm out of control. I'm eating pizza in the hallway. That wasn't allowed. It was a weird age to be. Like, I just think about how cringe it was. And now I'm like, I don't think kids are cringe anymore. Like, I was cringe for 3 full years. And I don't think people can relate to that.
I have nieces and nephews who are 16, 15, 13, and then 2 that are younger. But, like, they're awkward. But I don't think they're, like, cringe. I wouldn't call them. But I'm sure that they're going to look back on themselves in 10 years and be like, oh my God, wow, how could I have been like that? So
I just remember being so cringe. And I remember in the moment being like, oh, like this just feels so awful. And I have so many pictures. The problem is that like the iPhone really made that worse because I have so many pictures of me like with my friends and we're like playing with toys on skateboards and we felt the need to take 7,000 images of it that I kept for some reason because we thought it would make us Tumblr famous and it didn't. And now I just have these pictures.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Tumblr in middle school. I don't know what I would have done. And I was in middle school. It was, we were on AOL Instant Messenger. And this picture, like, is this a picture you would have posted to like Facebook?
Probably a picture someone posted of me on Facebook that I felt the need to save because I probably was like, I look so good right now. Like the boys are going to love this.
Oh man.
This was taken with an LG MN240.
Oh,
how do you even find this out?
All right. In Windows, you right click on the image and then you hit properties and then you scroll into details.
That's awesome. We love metadata here. Okay, so let's move on to high school. First picture we have here, you are giving peace sign, and the caption you wrote here is, "We didn't have a cafeteria, we just sat on the ground." Can you tell me about your school lunch experience in high school?
Yes. So it was very different from my middle school experience because I went to a private like college prep high school that was somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 a year. Whoa. And I do need to defend myself and say that I was on a full scholarship for music. So I was there for the arts and I had never been experienced to this type of high school before. But it was a very fancy sprawling campus. The campus was almost a mile long. And in Florida, your buildings are all outside. So you like walk from building to building for classes. Yeah. And the cafeteria, I think the school was built in the 80s. And so the cafeteria was really small. It was for like a really small school. And it was like a pre-K 3 through 12th grade school. So like a lot of kids of all different ages walking around all hours of the day. And so no one actually ate in the cafeteria because it was so small and they couldn't like fit enough tables in there. And the weather's always good in Florida. So we used to just like find a spot on the ground outside in the shade. And that's where you would eat lunch. Wow. And this is right outside of the band room where me and all of my friends, because we were all in band, we had band right before lunch. And so we would just walk out those doors and then sit on the floor right there.
You also, in this picture, you have a little brown bag here.
That's a Chipotle bag.
As a Chipotle bag, I thought so. So you could get Chipotle. Did you leave campus? Get it?
Yeah, so that was one of the perks of my high school is because everyone there was like rich and everyone there paid a lot of money to be there. There really weren't a lot of rules. They were kind of like, do low key whatever you want, just like be back in time for English class. And my senior year, my friend and I, we both had we had band class, then lunch, Then we both had like a free period, and then we had the same English class like to end our day. That was our last class of the day. So we basically had like a 2 hour block in the middle of the day where he had a car and we could leave campus together, and race back in time to go to the same class afterwards. And he would always go get like Chipotle or Shake Shack or Chick-fil-A or something like that. And I would come along for the ride. But as you can see, I still have my packed lunch with me. I wasn't getting the fun lunch off campus. I was just eating my weird lunch at Chipotle with him.
This is fascinating. This is like what high school is like on TV shows that I always thought I thought high school was going to be like. They wouldn't let us eat outside, really. They had this little enclosed area right outside our cafeteria in high school where, like, if you were a senior and there was enough seats outside, you can sit on, like, 4 picnic benches. Right, Matt?
I don't remember the number of benches, but your other description is correct.
They let us free. Our campuses, I think all campuses in Florida are like outside. Like we never had more than like a second floor in our buildings. So like when I hear about kids going to school in New York and I'm like, they jump or they like take the stairs up and down floors all day. I'm like, that's crazy. We walked a mile back and forth from math all the way to like French class.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what we were doing, right, Matt? In Connecticut, we were going up and down the stairs in our schools.
Yeah, we only had 2 stories, but
we were going like with your little rolly backpack. Did you have a rolly backpack, Matt? I don't think you did.
I know. I think my personality type of wanting to pack light is so strongly ingrained in me that I would not ever have had a rolling backpack. And the only time I've ever bought any kind of rolling bag was to, oh, wait, no, you're right. I did have a rolling backpack in high school. Oh, my God. Maybe this is why I hate heavy packing.
In high school? That's really late for a rolling backpack. That's like first, second grade max. Then you got to grow up.
No, it's the same kids who put their bare ass when they peed in elementary school would have the rolly backpack in high school. Am I right, Matt? This is why you didn't like going to the bathroom.
Maybe this is why I didn't like going to the bathroom. Was I a pull my pants down the whole way kind of kid?
There's definitely a correlation. There was something wrong with those kids.
And we love them for that.
They're the kids that raised their hand and called their teacher mom, too. And then they're like, oh, God, I can never come back.
These poor kids. They're probably, they're running the country these days, though, so it's okay.
Yeah, maybe I had that like rolling backpack sophomore year because I had an
crazy.
Eleving canvas bag through late college or late high school and college.
I just remember
you don't get that energy now, though. You don't see like I wouldn't think that you're like a high school rolly backpack kid, which is good. You've saved it.
You didn't get Chipotle, but what did you bring in high school? Do you remember?
I brought a lot of simple stuff. I liked apples and peanut butter. That was my go-to like every day, which was definitely not enough calories for whatever I should have been consuming with 2 hours of marching band after school, like every single day.
Wow.
And lacrosse practice and everything else I was doing. But a lot of apples, a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches always. I don't know, a lot of healthy food. I was really into baking. I always used to like bring cookies and cupcakes for everyone.
Oh, wow. In high school, huh?
Yeah, and everyone would like sit around and like eat them. I think I knew it would make me friends, so I just kept bringing sweets to school, and everyone would like come and hang out with me.
In high school, did you have the same group of friends as in middle school, or was it a different school, right? So
it's a totally different school, totally different neighborhood. I was so distraught about having to go there because I was like, I'm not going to know a single person. Like, this is awful. And when you're 12 or 13, that's literally the end of the world.
Totally.
But the first week of school, well, I had to go to marching band camp, which was like 2 weeks before school. So like the 2 weeks before school, I met like a core group of kids that I became best friends with for like the next 4 years. And then also during marching band, I met my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband. And we have been together since the first week of marching band camp.
Oh my God, no way. Did you talk to your husband about his memories of school lunch?
I did. And this is where I found out that I was maybe like not remembering things correctly. And he had to like tell me, because I was like, yeah, we didn't have a cafeteria. And he's like, we did. We just didn't eat there. Like, there was definitely a cafeteria. What are you talking about?
Because everyone wanted to be outside, right?
Well, the thing is, everyone ate outside. Like, it must have been like a select few 50 students that were in that cafeteria. Cause I remember like walking around and there were just kids outside everywhere. Like there was a lot of shade. So I remember everyone was like sitting in the shade, but it was hot. And by the end of school, I remember being sweaty. Like it's not, you don't leave school like not sweaty when you're in Florida. But it was fun. I was talking to him about it and we always used to like, us and like our friends would sit in a big circle outside the band room on the floor, and we would all like talk and do homework and like whatever. It was a really good group of kids that we got in with. And of course, me and my boyfriend at the time were thinking we weren't like all cuddly in PDA, but then definitely in hindsight, we were probably sitting on each other's laps and being disgusting 14-year-olds. I'm sure everyone loved that.
Yeah, they're like, is this allowed? Oh, do you remember what they served for hot lunch in high school?
Yeah, we had like different concession stands at all the different buildings. So like each building like served a different thing. And the one at this building that we always used to sit at, I remember they had a lot taco in a bag, which is like a bag of Doritos. And, like, yeah, walking taco.
Yeah.
And so a lot of kids would get that because it was like right there. And they also had chicken fingers with French fries. So most kids ate that. Most kids that I hung out with ate that every day. But some buildings had different things. Like some buildings had pasta, some had like salads. We had such a limited amount of time for lunch, maybe only like 20 or 25 minutes, that like if you spent your time walking to another building, like that was it. That was your lunch.
Right.
Like,
was there like different days where you'd be closer to a certain place that's served lunch versus another place?
like all 4 years, band class was always right before lunch, I think, because I think the teacher requested that because it always gave her like a couple extra minutes with us, like to clean up our stuff, and like she could hold us for a little bit longer without it being a problem. So yeah, the whole time we were always in that building and we didn't really stray too far. A couple of times I did go to the cafeteria and I think they had like the hot food, like the baked ziti and stuff like that. And I get that a couple times, but definitely senior year, we left campus every day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they would never have let us do that.
We lived very close to an IKEA. And so I remember me and my friend in this picture, I cropped him out because he's in the military now. So I'm sure he doesn't want anything to do with this. But we used to go to the IKEA and he'd go to the cafeteria and get a bunch of meatballs in IKEA. And then we would like wander around and get lost and make it a game of like, let's get as lost as we can and then see if we can get back to school in time.
Do you remember any favorites for lunch? Did the pizza get any better?
I think the pizza was better. I'm trying to remember what it looked like. I can't, but I'd have to ask my husband because I think he would eat the pizza. I remember the chicken fingers not being so bad. I would get that sometimes. Chicken fingers and fries, it's like you're at a carnival. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we got that in our school, that's for sure. That went by Michelle Obama's eye, I guess. I guess this didn't have to follow the public
No, they didn't
rules.
have to do anything.
Yeah.
They kind of just listened to what the rich parents were telling them to do. They were like, yeah, you want that? We'll add it next year. Not a problem. And this, I remember, so I was high up in the marching band ranks. I was a band captain and later drum major. I could do whatever I wanted in that band room. I know, not to brag, but my band director had her office like inside of the band room. And she had a microwave in there that her and like a couple of the other teachers would use. And I got privileges to use the microwave. So I would bring in like a hot lunch and microwave my lunch like an adult in the little adult break room.
Yeah, this is the thing that's come up before, like whether schools had a microwave that students had access to. And I never even thought about that before this show.
Yeah, I was heating up leftovers from last night. I had full range access to the adult microwave, which I just thought was such a privilege. And I used that time to overhear all the teachers talking about all the students.
Okay, let's move to the next photos we have here. It says your mom got really into bento boxes. And there's some beautiful pictures of some bento boxes. We have some pretzels, some cheese and crackers, some apples, spelling out happy birthday. This is beautiful. Your mom made this?
My mom made this. This is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, actually, the second one. You know, like many teenage girls, when they're on Tumblr at the fun age of 13 years old, I developed some pretty unhealthy eating habits as far as not eating enough. And so my mom was like, I know what's going to get her to eat something. What if I make her food look like something else? And so she got really into those like blogs of like how to get your toddler to eat food. And they would like say to decorate it.
That is so sweet.
It It is. It's really sweet. And so she would make these little characters. She tried to make Charlie Brown and his head fell off by the time I got to lunch. So I sent her this picture and we laughed about it. And she used like cake paint to paint his mask. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh. And then was this like a piece of cheese or something?
Yeah, it was like American cheese and cheddar cheese that she cut out by hand. She's a working mom and she still did that.
Wow. Yeah, your mom's a hero here. She really
She is.
celebrated lunch.
She tried really hard and I still was like, such a brat, and still to this day continue to be. She got really into this for a while. So every year it was like on a holiday or in my birthday, she would try to like dress up the lunch and she'd stay up late the night before in the kitchen doing it. This is one of the many names I went by. I went by Izzy in high school. And so
Okay, so we have a lunchbox here. This must be your princess lunchbox.
it is, yeah, my princess lunchbox with a bento box stuffed inside of it.
And what is this sandwich? It's like a shape cut into a
it's a
specific
ghost.
shape. Oh, it's a ghost. Yeah, I see. And there's a tombstone.
This must have been Halloween. And I look like I'm sitting at a table, maybe. Maybe I'm not sitting on the floor in this one. I might be at a picnic bench. It's
Wow,
so
so you had just the most adventurous lunch in high school. You were in IKEA, you were getting these custom bento boxes, you were going to Chipotle, you were outside. This obviously seems like the best lunch out of all the years.
It does. I think like at the time of freshman year onwards, we were treated like adults. And I think we really enjoyed that freedom because we could do whatever we want. We could eat whatever we wanted. And we were all being pretty chill about it.
So do you feel like school lunch overall was pretty influential in your life?
I think so. Because I'm a big lunch person. Like lunch is my favorite meal.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny to think about how for the first 18 years of your life, like you're beholden to these lunch choices that other people mostly make for you. And then you become an adult and you're like, oh, I can eat a turkey sandwich every single day for lunch if I want to, and no one's going to stop me. And I do that now. I'm really back into the bento boxes because now I have time to put my lunch together. So I like to make a nice little sandwich, put a side of pretzels, put a side of fruit, and maybe a little piece of candy. Looks very similar to this, minus the cupcake.
Well, Issa, thank you so much for doing this. This was really fun looking at these photos and going through your experiences. I always love when it's different from what we grew up with. So I appreciate that.
I'm glad that I could add some perspective here because I have been dying to talk about eating lunch in Florida as a kid growing up, from preschool all the way through, truly.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening and doing all the other stuff, too. Support your local lunch ladies, and goodbye.